What's going on, guys? I just want to jump on and kind of do a part two to my previous video I did in early January. And the first couple of weeks of January, I made a video about Almaty, Kazakhstan, and how there was a bioweapons lab that was secured by the Russian Federation when they invaded that area, and how that's a very dangerous thing because these are labs that are ran in coordination with the Global Defense Threat Reduction Agency, DTRA. And as we know, and I mentioned in a previous video, and as we are all aware now, thanks to Dr. Robert Malone, this is a very real agency, a very real organization, and he was part of it, along with, I think he was saying Anthony Fauci was part of it. And so just so you can really quickly understand what we're talking about here is DTRA is a Defense Threat Reduction Agency. It's dtra.mil. This is about it, right? If we just go straight to the home page of this, you can go to dtra.mil and kind of research this yourself. There are PDFs you can download, and they talk about what's going on, right? The U.S. government responds to false information, false accusations, and that's why we're here today, because there was a story that has been circulating now for like the past couple of days. It's February 26th right now, 2022. So the war in Ukraine is waging and it's hot, and so the U.S. government responds to a false allegation targeted at the DoD CTR program, right? Cooperative Threat Reduction Program executed by DTRA aims to peacefully reduce biological threats around the globe, but certain countries try to falsely undermine and discredit the program's efforts to do so. Take a look below the video. So we got a video here, and I'm just not going to play it, but there's like this idea, they have a strategy, a mission, work with us. They are looking to go out there and identify, counter any type of defense situations that arise, right? And so I just wanted to show you that there are offices in the Ukraine right now. So there is definitely a level of bona fideness of this story that needs to be reviewed by you. You need to be aware of this. So this is the Biological Threat Reduction Program. Again, we are at usembassy.gov. This is official taxpayer funded, military/political situation here. So Ministry of Defense, COVID-19 Response Assistance, Laboratory BTRP has upgraded many laboratories for the Ministry of Health and the State Food Safety Consumer Protection Services Ukraine, reaching biosafety level 2 in 2019. 2 laboratories, Kiev and in Odessa, right? So this is definitely a real deal. There are these labs there. And so what are they looking at? Risk assessment for selected avian flus. Okay, cool. Prevalence of Crimean Congo hemorrhagic fever virus and hantavirus in Ukraine, and potential requirement for differential diagnosis of suspect leptospirosis patients, right? And so some more swine flu stuff. And then biosurveillance risk assessment, right? So there is a high degree of technology, I would imagine there, and training, as well as engineering, deconstructing, CRISPR gene editing, and potentially gain of functioning of these viruses. And the one that's very important here is the one about Congo hemorrhagic fever. I also think that is that is Ebola, is it not? A type of weaponized Ebola. So let's get to the claims here. So I just kind of took some screenshots in my document word processor here, and let's give you a quick history lesson. In 2018, Russia claims the U.S. is running a secret bioweapons lab in Georgia. Vladimir Yevchenko is from the Associated Press is talking about how Russia is alleging that there are secret labs there. So, at the one hand, we have this noble mission of going out there to help stop the spread of bio stuff. But our friends in Russia are saying, no, you're creating bioweapons labs. And as we detailed in my previous video of Almaty, Kazakhstan, that isn't exactly the case. So as soon as February 24th, a post that I snapped here on Twitter, here is a map of all the verified Russian attacks on Ukraine as of 3:30 a.m. Just a reminder that Putin is claiming whatever. But there's all the, the attacks, I guess, just kind of take a look at all the damage and all the shit that's going down there, right? Kiev, lots of attacks, reported attacks. And then how does that overlay with this right here? So U.S. biolabs in Ukraine. So we got them in Kiev, we got them in Odessa, right there on the border of Russia, another one right here on the border of Russia. So it looks like right here in the Donbass, Lugansk and Donetsk regions. They took over those labs. And we're not even like getting into the nuclear stuff. We're just talking about the bioweapon stuff. I think I found out why you guys are so interested in Ukraine. What exactly would a mistake bioweapons lab be located anywhere near, let alone 8 of them, right? So I definitely think that this story has a lot of legs to it. And I'm very concerned that immediately after, this story making the runs on social media, on various platforms, look at the date of this, within 24 hours, official New World Order, fact checking through USA Today and PolitiFact is out there, not only monitoring tweets, but like counter narrativing these tweets, right? Twitter user by handle War Clandestine, that's the story I read, spread a story on the 24th that Russia has targeted the sites of US-run biolabs. It began invading Ukraine. So that account was quickly suspended by Twitter, and others shared the post and began using the hashtag US Bioweapon Lab. So if you type that in Twitter, you'll probably be put on the list, but you can start to see some of the stuff, right? So the fact that they suspended that account on Twitter is very sus. There are no US military labs in Ukraine. Okay, that's bullshit, because we just went to the DTRA. This is, US embassy.gov. We went to DTRA mail.strategy. We talked about at DTRA, the biological, US embassy.gov. They're looking at hemorrhagic fevers and avian flus and things like that, right? So there is program caucuses, YouTube videos. There's all kinds of content here for you to read and watch. On April 11th, President Zelensky, that guy's in the news, visited SED unit in, I'm not going to try to pronounce it, Donetsk Oblast, familiarized himself with the capabilities of the mobile laboratory to help military and civilian people during the COVID-19 pandemic, right? So, if I was Russia, I would be very concerned with biolabs on my border. This is all Russia right here, in Kazakhstan and in Ukraine. I would be very concerned with the location of all of these labs, and if I was going to invade, or if I had, misgivings with the West and the NATO alliance and European Union and all those kids, I would probably seek to get rid of those labs immediately, especially if I was, if I was Putin and I was very concerned about COVID-19 being a bioweapon that was created in the lab and then launched, according to UNTS, to frame China and to weaken their defenses or to weaken their economy, right? To then, on the other side of the coin of that launch, use that as a methodology to employ in your own country to step up your ability to watch social media. So, human, SIGINT, LNT, and then react to, respond, and counter narrative any conspiracy theories going out there. Work in conjunction with corporations, big tech, and work in conjunction with financial organizations to deny people access to financial services or basic everyday services like riding a bus, going to work, access to banking, access to just going to a restaurant because you don't have a vaccine or something along those lines. Like, we have definitely seen the wake of that and what that has turned into, climaxing, of course, with the trucker campaign in Canada, and that, effectively ending the COVID pandemic as of a week or two ago. Let's also not forget that the story of Project Veritas, let's just Google that together, Project Veritas, FDA, let's just do that. And you'll see there is a story that has been buried effectively with the rise of this new Ukrainian, Vladimir Putin invasion, right? Where executive officer is caught on hidden camera detailing how this person was in charge of authorizing vaccines, and there was money involved, and the more money we get, and talking about how Joe Biden wants everyone to have a booster and everyone has to be boosted. It's an endless conveyor of money, and how it's a money. This story is very fresh. Literally, look at that, February 17th. As I was getting off work, one of my bestest friends, AJ, had sent me this video, and I couldn't believe it. And then within like 10 days, because it's like, the 26th now? Within 10 days, we were at war with Russia, essentially at a global level, and that's the crisis, right? So I think it's very important that we don't lose sight of the idea that this COVID bioweapons Wuhan lab leak situation is not a joke. And if you are a country and a leader of another country or something like that, you kind of owe it to your people to ensure that they are not in danger from a psychopath like Anthony Fauci, who has been likened in the mainstream media press as the rebirth of Joseph Mengele 2.0, right? The angel of death, so to speak, right? We've all heard those talking points. And so I think it's very important, this story with the Ukraine labs, that it appears Russia has gone and seized those. So let's look at a couple of more things here. So this is just, I don't even know who this is, India, OP India. Our U.S. run biological labs in Ukraine, one of the reasons behind Russian invasion. Read how Russian government had raised bioweapons alarm. Yeah, I would think so. That's the story that I was referencing earlier. Here's the maps. Here's the information bona fiding the fact that the U.S. Embassy in Ukraine was running BTRPs. Russia has accused the U.S. of developing bioweapons. So all of this, right? This is all there. There's the secret. There's a lot of information here that you need to do your own research on, because at the end of the day, we are talking about war crimes, and if for just a moment we consider what Vladimir Putin is saying himself, he's talking about the denazification and the reversing of NATO encroachment. And I would go a step further. If I was him, if I was real, I would say also Dr. Anthony Fauci and Robert Malone were creating, DTRA labs on my border. By the way, I'm not happy with that. I would be more afraid of a biolab than I would be a nuclear missile or some type of anti-nuclear missiles, like countermeasure missiles, right? I would be more afraid of a biolab, because I'll tell you what, right now, you can go EMP a building theoretically that has nuclear silos or something like that, or, nuclear missiles, but you can't shut down these biolabs, right? Like, these biolabs are so super deadly. Like, if they're really working on hemorrhagic fever over there, right? If they are really, really, really working on Congo hemorrhagic fevers, dude, we're talking about Ebola. We're talking about civilization-ending shit. And if Wuhan COVID-19 84 is any indication of what they are capable of, and the links that they are willing to take, and how they give no fucks about anyone who gets in their way, it's a very scary proposition. And if I was Putin, I would be rolling tanks, helicopters, boats. I would honestly just probably small tactical nuke every single one of those labs. Just glass turn those into glass, instantly petrify all those and render them inert. Because the story has come out that Russia takes over Chernobyl, and they're holding like the crews hostage and forcing them to maintain that facility so it doesn't go meltdown. There's also another story of nuclear waste facilities have taken over the power plant, right? And there's another one here. It says that Russia has secured several of the no-go zone areas, right? They've secured several of the areas where there are, spent fuel rods or something along those lines. And that kind of stuff has to be maintained, right? We were tracking a B-52 bomber a week or two ago, and we saw that this B-52 bomber flew from the UK around Spain, through Gibraltar, up through the Mediterranean. There was two of them. One turned around and went back up north to UK, and the other one went on to its mission after refueling into what looked like the Middle East. It could have been Saudi Arabia, or it could have been Israel. I think Israel. And if I had to guess, I would think they probably picked up a nuclear bio or dirty weapon there that was jacketed in a isotope known to be Soviet era isotope. And the reason why something like that is significant is because there is a Chernobyl in Ukraine. If I was the Allies and I wanted to false flag myself to make Putin look like the evilest person on earth, I would then take that nuclear dirty bomb that's jacketed in Soviet era isotopes and detonate it on myself and say, see, Russia did this. Right? Literally, that's what I would do, honestly. And my mind just goes there because I guess I'm evil or something, But, this radioactive waste disposal site near Ukraine, capital Kiev, has been hit by a Russian airstrike. By the storage facilities, we're but the storage filters were not damaged. Officials say a preliminary assessment found no evidence of a leak, right? So there is a lot of information out there. There are other websites out there, like there's a wiki website. It's like wiki about, nuclear shit. And it talked about how gamma radiation is on the rise in those regions. So I don't know, but I'm just telling you that there is legs to this story, and you need to be aware of what's going on and probably prepare yourself, because it looks like this war situation with Chechnya, actually just like a little minute ago, as I was preparing for this video, I saw, what is it? So we'll just say like Ukraine, Russia, Chechnya, they are rolling out, right? Chechen leader ally says, his forces are deployed. So it looks like, Russia is rolling up with Chechnya. They're about to penetrate into Kiev. There were some tweets as I was preparing for this video 5 or 10 minutes ago talking about how they have already, Chechen troops are down there. They're getting ready to roll out. They're rolling with Russia. Russia's rolling them in there. And then, of course, there's the Security Council stuff where China refuses to outright condemn or even agree with sanctions on this. So it looks like we are definitely seeing a Cold War heating up again. And so I just want to quickly throw this out there that, in my estimation, I would be very concerned about Taiwan, Hong Kong, movements there, on the chessboard. I'd be very concerned about North Korea and South Korea. My estimation, my intelligence analysis indicates to me that South Korea would probably flip without a fight to just join and reunify all of North Korea. So we would have just a reunified North Korean state on that peninsula that is in harmony, lockstep with China and Russia. I would expect Japan to either be flipped or forcefully taken over. They would probably, I don't know. I give 52% chance that they would just join in. They just throw in with the Asia Pac there, that Asia group of, China-controlled agencies, nations. I also expect Vietnam, a solidification of Cambodia, Thailand, Laos, and Burma to become, one or two consolidated communist states there with Malaysia to be part of this, communist Chinese Asia Pacific group to then counter in on Australia. That's my personal opinion. I expect China to beat the shit out of India, to roll India and potentially use Pakistan to pincer them in, right? I expect Afghanistan, Iran, Iraq, Syria, Saudi Arabia, Oman, Yemen, Sudan, a majority of these northern African quasi-Islamo states there to unify. I expect to see, honestly, I'd be surprised if this doesn't happen, if we see the rise of a Middle Eastern coalition that would be backed and funded directly by OPEC. I would expect to see, like I just mentioned, Afghanistan, Pakistan, Turkmenistan, Iran, Iraq, Syria, Azerbaijan, some of these nations up here to become part of this Middle Eastern coalition and to create its own military in an attempt to remove Israel from their location. I further expect to see a re-communization of some of the states over here in South America, Colombia, Venezuela. I expect to see some of those flip back to being active threats. Nicaragua, Cuba. I would expect to see some of those nations become a threat to us. And so we are definitely, seeing BRICS nations, as well as we'll call them axis of communist nations, turning on. And right now we see the second move, right? So Russia moved on Kazakhstan, and now they're moving on Ukraine. That has spawned Chechnya to come and help them here with this fight. And then all of the NATO nations around her. I expect Germany, at least half of Germany, to flip and join Russia. I expect Poland, Belarus, Lithuania, Latvia, Estonia to also all be either conquered very easily, quickly, or just to surrender to Russia right now. I see a major situation on the horizon where we could see a tomorrow world when we wake up, and I don't mean literally tomorrow, but why not? Where we are in big trouble, and the reason why that's a problem is because we have these labs all over the world, and if that shit gets out, we're screwed. If a nuclear exchange ensues, we are screwed. And so just some ideas here is, as much as I mentioned all of these nations going communist, I think southern hemisphere on the planet is probably the way to be. And I would probably avoid Australia and New Zealand because those people have already proven to us that they are fucking fascist, neo-Nazi motherfuckers who will force you to take a goddamn shot, or they will beat your ass or kill you or throw your ass in the concentration camp. Brazil, I don't know. I'm very concerned about where the hell do we go? I live here in Dallas, in Texas. Where do I take my family to survive nuclear fallout? And it's definitely not, in my estimation, like this middle latitude right up here above the equator, in the northern hemisphere. I think that that's all no man's land, but perhaps maybe up here in Alaska and the northern territories, right? Newfoundland or whatever this area is called, NU. Now there's nothing up there, but I really expect those probably to be the safest places on the planet after the smoke has settled, after the dust has settled. So that's all I got in this video, guys. Kind of went long-winded. Talked about the bioweapon story, how all the king's horses and all the king's men are out there trying to fact check this again. And even the DTRA website is talking about, oh, nothing to see here, guys. It's all good. That then bleeds over into the geopolitics and the situation, how it's being very mismanaged or poorly covered and warned by the mainstream media about what's going on with these nuclear plants, right? And that's the danger of nuclear power, right? A coal or fossil fuel power plant, if everyone dies and no one goes to work tomorrow, it just rusts. But a nuclear power plant, if everyone dies and no one goes to work tomorrow because of COVID-1984 or COVID-22, if everyone's dead because of that nuclear plant will shut down, melt down, and become a major biological or radiological nuclear disaster with a half-life of millions of years, right? So this is serious business, man. This is greater than, no offense to the Ukrainians or the Soviet troops on the ground, the Russian troops on the ground. This is bigger than that. We need to zoom out on the map and think about the bigger picture here, because there's more at stake. There's more at stake here than there is being talked about. Most people aren't even discussing such stuff, and there's active countermeasures from a fact-checking standpoint and double speak standpoint out there shutting this story down. So that's what I got for this one, man. You guys take it easy, be safe, and definitely protect yourself at all times if possible.